The unthinkable has happened. In a world accustomed to slow, predictable change, tonight's news has shattered expectations and sent shockwaves through the corridors of power. October 1st, 2025. News alerts flash worldwide. 2 EU member states have accepted an invitation to join the BRICS bloc. In Brussels, shock and disbelief ripple through the European Union's leadership. In Washington, emergency meetings are called as officials scramble to assess the implications. The world's attention is riveted. In Beijing and Moscow, quiet triumph. Behind closed doors, leaders exchange knowing glances, aware that history is being rewritten in their favor. This is more than a headline. It's a seismic shift in the global order. The balance of power, once thought unshakable, is now in motion. For decades, the EU was the West's most reliable partner, a cornerstone of transatlantic unity. Now, 2 of its own have pivoted toward a bloc seen as a counterweight to Western dominance, raising questions about the future of European solidarity. Italy and Hungary's move is the result of years of economic anxiety and political friction with Brussels. Rising unemployment, public discontent, and a sense of being left behind fueled their search for new alliances and opportunities. Their decision forces every nation to reassess its place in a rapidly changing world. Allies and rivals alike are now recalculating their strategies, uncertain of what comes next. Tonight, we explore how this happened, the global reactions, and what it means for the future of Europe and the world. The stakes have never been higher, and the questions more urgent. The post-Cold War era is over. A new multipolar world is here, where influence is contested and alliances are no longer guaranteed. The world as we knew it has fundamentally changed. Old certainties have vanished, replaced by a landscape of shifting loyalties and emerging powers. Understanding this shift is critical for us all. In the days ahead, every citizen, policymaker, and business leader will need to adapt to a reality that is still unfolding before our eyes. To truly grasp the significance of this week's events, we need to journey back in time and revisit the foundations of the post-Bolstered order. After the devastation of the Second World War, Europe was left in ruins, its cities shattered, its people exhausted, and its future uncertain. The continent faced not only the challenge of physical reconstruction, but also the urgent need to prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening again. The European Union was born from these ashes of conflict, as leaders sought to bind their nations together through economic and political integration. The idea was simple, yet revolutionary. By linking their economies and destinies, European countries could make war between them not only unthinkable, but materially impossible. Over time, this vision grew, with more countries joining and the project expanding in ambition. Alongside the United States, the EU emerged as a pillar of global finance and democracy, its influence amplified by powerful institutions like NATO and the G7. Together, these alliances helped shape the rules of the modern world, promoting stability, prosperity, and shared values across the West. For decades, EU membership was seen as the ultimate goal for many European nations, offering access to the world's largest single market, a voice in global affairs, and the promise of peace and prosperity. Countries lined up to join, eager for the opportunities and security that came with being part of this powerful bloc. But as time went on, a series of crises, the 2008 financial crash, the Eurozone debt turmoil, waves of migration, and the unprecedented challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, exposed deep rifts between member states. These events tested the EU's unity and revealed the limits of its ability to respond collectively. Some began to see the EU as increasingly rigid, dominated by a handful of powerful members, while others felt their voices were being drowned out or their interests sidelined. Frustration grew, and a sense of shared purpose began to threaten the regions. In these cracks, the seeds of discontent and the search for alternatives were sown. As old certainties faded, new questions emerged about the future of the EU, the West, and the very idea of unity in a changing world. As the West consolidated power, a new force emerged: BRICS. Originally an economic grouping, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and later South Africa, BRICS sought a more multipolar world. Unlike the West, BRICS united diverse nations with a shared desire for greater global influence. They built their own institutions, like the New Development Bank, and challenged the dominance of the US dollar. Despite skepticism, BRICS grew in economic clout, surpassing the G7 in global GDP, PPP, by 2023. The 2024 expansion to BRICS Plus made it a truly global coalition, offering an alternative to Western-led systems. It was this confident, expanded BRICS that extended the invitation now shaking Europe. On October 1, 2025, Italy and Hungary stunned the world by announcing their entry into BRICS. Italy's Prime Minister called it a pragmatic move for economic growth and sovereignty, not a departure from Europe. Hungary's leader framed it as a stand against EU ideological pressure, seeking partnerships with both East and West. The decision was swift and secretive, with parliamentary approval secured just before the public announcement. No country has ever held simultaneous EU and BRICS membership. This is uncharted territory. The move raises complex legal and political questions about dual allegiances. Can a nation balance EU commitments with BRICS partnerships, especially with rivals like Russia and China? The world is about to find out. Europe's reaction was one of profound shock and dismay as the unexpected news reverberated across the continent. The atmosphere was tense, with traders and journalists alike struggling to comprehend the implications of this seismic shift. EU leaders swiftly condemned the move, issuing stern warnings about the serious consequences that could follow. They questioned the legality of dual membership, sparking intense debates within the European Council. Headlines across Europe reflected the controversy, capturing the gravity of the situation. Major capitals like Berlin and Paris were vocal, labeling it a grave mistake. They expressed concerns that this decision could threaten the unity of the single market, a cornerstone of European economic stability. The fragmented EU flag symbolized the potential fracture in unity. Smaller states, already feeling vulnerable, voiced their anxiety over the EU's cohesion. The fear of being sidelined in a divided Europe loomed large as diplomats scrambled to find a path forward amidst growing uncertainty. In Washington, officials expressed deep disappointment, highlighting concerns about NATO security and intelligence sharing. The decision was seen as a potential threat to the long-standing transatlantic alliance, raising questions about future cooperation. The transatlantic alliance has been dealt a major blow, with flags lowered at NATO headquarters, symbolizing the somber mood. Military officials gathered to assess the impact, as breaking news graphics underscored the crisis facing the alliance. Meanwhile, BRICS nations celebrated the development, viewing it as proof of a world increasingly tired of Western dominance. Leaders exchanged celebratory statements, confident in their growing influence on the global stage. Russia and China warmly welcomed Italy and Hungary into the fold, emphasizing BRICS as an open, inclusive platform. The official welcome ceremony marked a new chapter, with handshakes symbolizing the strengthening of ties. For BRICS, this is a diplomatic victory, legitimizing the bloc as a credible alternative to the G7. The summit roundtable, adorned with country flags, highlighted the growing influence of BRICS, as infographics compared its rising power to the established G7. The global balance of power has shifted, as an animated world map vividly illustrates. News anchors discuss the implications on global economics, while international newspapers herald the dawn of a new world order, reshaping alliances and power dynamics. The economic shock was immediate. European markets tumbled, the euro fell, and Italy's debt was put on negative watch. Italy and Hungary hope BRICS membership will open new markets and attract investment, especially from China and India. But the EU remains their biggest trading partner. Over half their trade is with EU countries. Any disruption could be catastrophic. EU officials warn that aligning with a rival bloc may mean losing single market privileges. The move also accelerates the global trend of de-dollarization, with BRICS pushing for trade in local currencies. Italy and Hungary's participation gives this movement new credibility. The challenge to US financial dominance is real. The political fallout is even greater. Italy and Hungary's move shatters the myth of Western unity, creating a crisis for both the EU and NATO. The EU's ability to form unified foreign policy is now in question, as is NATO's trust in its members. Other Eurosceptic governments may see BRICS as a viable alternative, threatening further fragmentation. For NATO, having members in both camps raises security and intelligence concerns. For BRICS, this is a strategic win, gaining legitimacy and a foothold inside Western institutions. The West appears divided, the East emboldened. The global map has been redrawn. The world order is no longer what it was. What do the experts say? Dr. Evelyn Reed calls this the biggest challenge to the transatlantic alliance since Suez, blaming years of Western complacency. Italy's move is economic desperation, Hungary's ideological defiance. BRICS' appeal lies in its flexibility. It doesn't demand political conformity, just a shared vision of multipolarity. Former Indian diplomat Arun Singh sees opportunity and risk for the global South. European members boost BRICS' stature but complicate its internal dynamics. India, a US partner, must now navigate a bloc with NATO allies and China. The balancing act for all members just got harder. BRICS must absorb new members without importing Western rivalries. The stakes for global governance have never been higher. The world has crossed a threshold. The West-centric order is over. A tangled web of alliances has replaced it. Italy and Hungary's BRICS move is a symptom, not the cause, of this shift. The West faces a choice: punish or engage. Either path risks deepening divisions. Citizens everywhere will feel the impact on economies, security, and daily life. The future is uncertain, but staying informed is more important than ever. Will this lead to a more balanced world or greater conflict? Only time will tell. The story is still unfolding, and it concerns us all.